The Edmonton Oilers are getting hot at the right time and holding down a playoff spot in the Pacific, while the Vancouver Canucks are struggling at the worst possible time. We'll talk about both of them and more as we look at the hottest and coldest teams in the NHL. Hey everybody, it is time once again to look at the 5 hottest and 5 coldest teams in the NHL. We're down into the final month of the season now. It's April. There's not a lot of time left in the regular season. Most teams have anywhere between like 12 and 15 games remaining in the season. Big time playoff battles going on. Teams trying to get into the playoffs. Teams battling for seeding in the playoffs. There's a lot of good stuff happening. And we're going to take a look at which teams are rising to the occasion and playing well at the end of the year, and which teams are struggling and having a little bit of issues getting wins on the board. So let's get into it here, and I always like to start with the positive. So we're going to start with the hottest teams. Coming in at number 5, we have the New York Islanders. 7-3-0 in their last 10 games. They've won 3 straight. The Islanders are playing very, very well right now, and they are playing the role of spoiler. Not a playoff team this year, but they can ruin the days for some playoff teams that they're playing against, and they're playing well right now to gain some confidence at the end of the season. Number 4, we've got the Colorado Avalanche. 7-2-1 in their last 10 games. They've won 2 in a row as well. And Colorado, who's been a dominant team this season, keeps on rolling. 7 out of 10, 2-game win streak. The Avs are the Avs. Very similar as the Florida Panthers, coming in at number 3. 7-2-1, also in their last 10, also on a 2-game winning streak. And Florida continues to try and win the East as they're a top team in the Eastern Conference, top team in the Atlantic Division. And Florida has been extremely good all year long, and that certainly doesn't appear to be slowing down. Coming in at number 2, we have the Edmonton Oilers. 7-2-1, also in their last 10. They are on a 3-game winning streak, and this could not have come at a better time for the Edmonton Oilers, as they have pulled into 3rd place in the Pacific in a playoff spot, looking pretty good in that playoff spot right now, and they're making a strong push for 2nd place, trying to steal that away from the LA Kings. Only 1 point back with a game in hand right now. The Oilers are playing well at the right time. They're getting better as we get into the last month of the season here. They've certainly been a lot better under Jay Woodcroft than they were playing under Dave Tippett. I think that coaching change came at the perfect time for the Oilers, and they're trying to secure that playoff spot here the last couple weeks of the season and make sure that they will be playing in May. And number 1, continuing in the top spot from last week, is the Boston Bruins. Now, they certainly had a very aggravating loss on Tuesday against the Maple Leafs, but they really have been, outside of that, have been playing absolutely outstanding. 8-2-0 in their last 10 games, 1-game winning streak, getting a big bounce back win over the New Jersey Devils Thursday night. We'll see what they do tonight against Columbus, but the Boston is the only team with 8 wins in their last 10 games in the NHL, and that has them in the number 1 spot as the hottest team right now. Switching over to the other side of things, the cold side, teams that are not playing so well. Well, coming in at number 5, we have the Vancouver Canucks, and just about the opposite of the Edmonton Oilers here. Instead of it happening at the best possible time, this is happening at the worst possible time for the Vancouver Canucks as they are starting to slip out of playoff contention. They were in that playoff race out west. They were trying to move into 3rd spot in the Pacific. They were trying to at least nab a wild card spot. But this recent stretch of 3-5-2 in their last 10 games and a 2-game losing streak, losing both games to St. Louis in regulation, has really hurt the Canucks' playoff chances. Seems like they're very unlikely to get it at this point now. 7 points out of a playoff spot with not that many games left to go is not anywhere that you want to be. So Vancouver struggling here at the end of the season, heading into the final month at a really bad time where they couldn't afford to struggle, and they have made themselves quite the long shots for the playoffs now. Also 3-5-2 in their last 10 are the Chicago Blackhawks. However, they've lost 3 in a row, and Chicago obviously has been a bottom team most of this year. Did not have the season that they were hoping for. It's been a long year for the Blackhawks. It's been a tough year for the Blackhawks, and that is continuing now with only 3 wins in their last 10 games. And number 3, we've got the Philadelphia Flyers, who also have only 3 wins in their last 10. They are 3-6-1 with a 3-game losing streak in regulation in their last 10 games. And honestly, having to play Toronto tonight, who's playing pretty well, that's in all likelihood going to continue for the Philadelphia Flyers. It's been a rough year for Philly. I said during the Off the Wall Hockey Show last night, Nightmare Season 2.0 for the Flyers, and that certainly continues here heading into the final month of the season. So it's been a rough year for Philadelphia. We'll see what changes they have for next season, but they've struggled all season. Number 2, we have the Detroit Red Wings. They are just 2-6-2 in their last 10 games. They lost their last one out in regulation. Detroit's shown a lot of positives this year. Obviously, they've got some good young talent. They've shown some good steps in the right direction. They've had some stretches this year where they've played fairly well. They've beaten some good teams, but at the end of the day, they're not quite there yet. And I think, this is another stretch showing where the Red Wings just quite aren't there yet. So they've got a bright future, but it's not right now for them. And they've had a rough go of it here the last few weeks as they have just 2 wins in their last 10 games. And finally, holding the number 1 spot from last week is the Anaheim Ducks, who did win last night. However, that is their only win in their last 10 games. So winning 1 out of 10 is not going to get you moved off of the list. 1-6-3 in their last 10 games. Again, just 1 win in the win column. Anaheim had such a good first half of the season. Looked like they might be a surprise playoff team. They have not been able to keep that up in the second half. And the trains really run off the tracks for Anaheim here over the last few weeks. The last month or so has been really tough. So the Ducks obviously fallen out of playoff contention. And still just 1 win in their last 10. Very rough stretch here for Anaheim. So those are your coldest teams in the NHL. And there you have it, everybody. Hottest and coldest teams right now in the league, obviously heading into the last, 3-4 weeks of the season. We'll see as the final month goes along, which teams are able to get on track, which teams are able to stay on track, which teams things kind of fall off for or stay falling off, like the Anaheim Ducks so far. Obviously things can change. There's some big races going on, particularly the Western Conference playoff race as far as who's going to get in and who isn't. And then you also have seeding up for grabs. And, the Eastern Conference, we kind of know the playoff teams, but the seeding is still very much up for grabs. So there's a lot left to play for. It's probably going to be a really fun last few weeks of the season here. And then we'll get into playoffs, and obviously playoff time, everything just goes to the next level. There is nothing like the NHL playoffs. So that is it for Hot and Cold Teams this week. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, follow on social media. All those links are down in the description. If you'd like to further support the channel, the links to our merchandise store, membership, and donation links are down in the description as well. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. I'll talk to you guys soon.